Hey, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to the channel. I'm trying out something new today because I play a lot of this game, and I did say in my post that I would stream record Genshin. So this is my quick little video on my thoughts and opinions on every single 5-star character in the game. I won't be doing one on 4 stars until probably later because there's way too many characters in the game's roster just to be able to do this. If we start from newest to oldest, if I don't understand the character or their kits, I won't say anything about them, or I'll just say there's a lot of great other content creators that can explain these characters better. But without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have the newest regional character, who would
Take a
be
deep
considered
breath,
the god of
as if you're
Nodcry.
about to blow up a huge balloon.
I'm talking about Columbina. Her kit is really free-to-play friendly. I would say she is a really easy kit to learn because all she does is you can use her skill, and then if you use her as a main DPS, use her skill and then spam her at ones till you get the moons, which you can use charge attacks to buff damage. My thing is, if you want her to be really good, you would need her to have, well, I think level 60 or something to unlock all these side talents. But my recommendation for her, if you're a new player and trying to get her, I would not recommend her. If you have access to Nocturne, then I say you could. Her best supports end up being like Lauma and Effa and a few other really solid characters. So if you want a good Hydra support net, and you're running Lunar team, Palomino is a good choice. If you don't run Lunar and you just want a general support, I would recommend Farina, one of the best Hydra supports in the game, till this day. Next up, we have Durin. I don't know much about him, but I will say he is a kind of like a pyro support in a way. I'm not exactly sure how stuff works.
Instead of confining
Here, let me
themselves
just
to the
turn off the
heavens,
audios. Give me
God
one
should
second.
broaden their horizons in the world below.
I completely forgot the voice volume.
Paimon coming in!
There we go.
Paimon coming!
That should be a lot easier to hear. Durin, he's a pyro support that relies on hex and circle teams. If you want him as like a general pyro buffer, he's not bad for it. But I would not recommend him if you're not running hex and circle team. You can just use Bennett or really Bennett, Xiangling, Chefris, or really several other pyro supports that would work a little better than him. But if you're running Hex and Circle team or you don't know if you're running Hex team, use him. I recommend it. If you're not running Hex team and you have no idea what Hex team is, don't worry about it. You can just ignore him for now until you read up and get to the quest. Nefer, the boss of the Curatorium of Secrets. The first Dendro DP, well, I would say first, but more or less the second Dendro DPS of the Nodgrai region. She is a very solid DPS, but her main thing is that she scales off her elemental mastery, and she uses one kit. However, whenever you're using your skill and you're trying to get the moons, I recommend um, holding down the charge attack and then moving instantly. I actually got taught this, and it's actually a lot more helpful when it comes to avoiding taking damage. She also has a unique way of changing Bloom into her special things. Yeah, he's right here. She can change them into a special type of Bloom thing that can increase her damage off her burst. If you're looking for a little niche like charge attack character that's a Dendro, I would recommend her. Her best support is Lelma, Columbina, or Ino. If you want a healer in the team, just bring Farina, bring Bennett, you can bring really whoever. She doesn't. It's better to run more non-cry characters with her, but she's a solid pick. Blins, the man of the graveyard, who conveniently could turn himself into a lamp. He is a kind of like an oddball plunge DPS in terms of his skill. He's a really good DPS, don't get me wrong. You need to pair him with a Hydro character to get really good numbers out of him, though. If you don't, his numbers will plummet. He's a solid, cool kid. He has great animations,
Many insects have a
so
compulsion
it's
to
really
follow
nice.
the light, and humans
I
are
would
the
recommend him
same.
if you want a solid Electro
Except we
character and
call
you
that
have
light
any Hydro to go with him. He works with Shallonen because he is one of the elements that works. Because Shallonen works with Pyro, Hydro, Cryo, Electro, I think with Justice 4 and Geo. So I would recommend him if you need him. And Netha, Flynn's best support because she has shielding, she has I think she has off-field electro damage, which helps him a lot, especially when you pair him with Ino. Literally one of Flynn's best teams is Flynn's, Enefa, Ino, and then Sucrose. But I'm not here to discuss 4 stars. I'm here to discuss 5 stars. Solid shielder overall. If you want electro damage, if you want just a passive electro damage, she's a good pick. I don't know too much about her, so I, if anything, prefer to other content creators for that. One of from my all-time favorite DPS characters, Skirk, who is K. He's really confusing, but I can explain it really simply. If you want to use her burst, hold down her skill. It charges it up passively. You don't need to use any elemental energy recharge on her, because elemental recharge on her, energy recharge, does not work on her kit. It's not how her kit works. This, if you use her hold skill twice, you can use her burst. Granted, it's not gonna be as strong, but you can use it. You'll be able to tell when her burst is ready when it's like this. You can tell when her burst is ready when you have stuff over there. You have this symbol. That symbol means it's fully charged. I can give you a quick demonstration. Let's say you used her burst. As such, just holding on her skill, and you can cancel it early just to get recharge. It charges up about I'd say 40% for each time, but if you get there's little crystals you can get that can buff her, and her the only thing about Skirk is the fact that she relies on Hydro and Cryo teammates only. So her best supports are Farina, Escoffier, and Shenhe. However, if you don't have those 3, and let's say you just have Farina, or if you don't even have Farina, one of my recommended teams, and this is from someone who only has one of her best supports, get Layla, get Rosaria, and then where is he? Xingqiu. Because you want passive freeze, so she can spawn little rifts. The little rifts that can buff her damage severely and make her hit anywhere from I don't know 100k all the way up to 500. My Skirk actively is hit up to 400-ish k, give or take. I'm not able to calculate the actual numbers because she's a 5-hit burst, meaning that she has 4 hits in her burst, and then the last one does either really big damage or really doesn't, depending on your crit rate. I don't know much about Scoffier, but all I can say is that she's Skirk's best support. She heals off her burst. Her skill is really useful in terms of if you want to cook food passively, you just use elemental energy for it. If you want more information, you can look her up on. There's a lot of great guides on the wiki pages for Scoffier. Very so. Dare I say, a very strange but one of the heaviest plunge DPS, electro DPSs in the game. Really easy kit. Her skill is just, you can literally use her skill once and then spam left click to get the plunge, and then you can do that again. Her burst is really solid. She gets a miniature burst that's slightly altered where she uses half her elemental energy to continue her skill. Solid electro DPS. Would recommend if you like catalysts. And yes, she is a catalyst. Before I forget, she's a catalyst. He's a sword user. She's a catalyst. He's a polearm user. I completely skipped over Alauma, but essentially off-field dendro application, really easy. Just press E and she can do passive. Her burst buffs all bloom damage related to dendro. Really solid support. I would recommend if you're running that. If you really want dendro supports or off-field dendro. I personally have her and she hits like a truck. I won't really be going over standard 5-star characters, mainly because you can get these characters really when you lose 50-50 or off standard banner, which that counts permanently. But if you want me to go over standard banner characters, I can in a future video. Next up, Mawika, the Pyro Archon of Nalan. She's actively her Skirk and Verisa, Nefer, and like one other character take top 5 for best DPS this game. And she means business. You can use her as a sub DPS if you tap her skill. If you hold her skill, you can use her bike as like normal damage. I recommend if you're gonna use her bike, just use her charge attack for her bike. This is a really strong attack. She can use her burst halfway, much like Skirk. And honestly, it does a lot of damage. Her best set is Obsidian Codex. Her best weapon to free to play is like I can show you real fast. It is her best weapon if you're running anything that's related to Pyro. Get Earthshaker, one of the best claymores in game. For her, free to play wise at least. Next up, Solali, one of Mawika's best supports and a shielder who scales off of Elemental Mastery. So if you like Elemental Mastery and you like shields, she's for you. You can use her as a DPS. Granted, I don't recommend it, but she can be used as such. My Solali isn't even built to be a DPS, and she can hit 84k off of burst. So if you need cryo, and she's a really good off-field cryo application, she's the one to go with. I'm not going to speak too much on Animo DPSs. All I can say is that she uses a revolver gun which is her skill. If you hold it down, she gets 6 shots and she fires all at once, creating like either swirl or elemental reactions based off of it. If you like Animo DPSs, if you like combo damage, she's the one for you. Shalonen, sweet and simple. She is a geo support who can debuff enemy resistance off of Pyro, Cryo, Electro, Hydro, and Geo. She heals off her burst, and her skill's pretty solid, and she is a traversal character. Oh, before I forget, Lalma can traverse if you hold her skill, or hold her normal attack down. Skirk can traverse holding her skill, grants not very far. Roos is great for traversal. Mizuki can traverse, but I'm not going into that. Mawika's bike can traverse. Solali technically has some form of traverse where you can jump her really high in the air. Grants only for a set time. Cheska's gun, which is her skill, can be used as traversal. She gets roller skates that are traversal. Kinich, single target DPS, that's Dendro application. Really good for a single hit, or like if you really know how to group the enemies up, can be really good at Haymaker harding it. He works well with most team comps, I'd say. That's great off of crit damage. Solid DPS in general. Mualani, again, much like Kanich, she's a single target DPS, but she can have multi-hit. Easily one of the heaviest hitting Hydros in the game, who rivals Unu Valette in terms of like burst and like single hits. Her traversal is her shark, which is her skill, which you get 3 charges of and then you attack with it. Solid DPS. I have her. She hits like a truck. I don't know much about her, so you're gonna have to refer to other content creators. All I know is that she is a off-field dendroplicator. All I know from Siege Memes is that I think she's a healer who uses technically on-field and off-field. I think on-field Hydra application. I'm not exactly sure on that. Clorind is easily one of the best electro characters in the game. Really easy kit to learn. You can use her skill for traversal for whatever reason. If you just tap it while you're walking forward, she moves fast forward. But essentially, her skill is like a gun. You can spam left click with it and just apply electro damage. Her burst has really cool animations. She uses Bond of Life mechanic much like Arlecchino. If you don't know what that is, essentially you get like you can't heal, but the more damage you dish out, the more you'll heal back when your Bond of Life / your burst is used. Arlecchino, relies purely on her skill and her like M1 basic attack. You can make her a really strong DPS in general. I have a friend who makes her hit like 200, like upwards of 200k on burst. Granted, I don't recommend you build her straight on burst. I just recommend if you like brawling, she's a good character for it. Her burst heals her off her skill. Chiori, don't know too much about her, but I know her skill can like swap between characters. I don't know too much about her, so you might have to refer to guides or other content creators. Same can be said for Shen Yun, but I heard that she can make almost any character a plunge DPS. So just keep an eye out. If you look plunge, she's a good character to get it for. I cannot say much for Navia, but I can say that that umbrella is a shotgun. Hold down her skill and you can just shotgun blast people. Really fun Geo DPS. One of the best Hydra supports in the game, I'd say. She can traverse over water infinitely because her skill recharges faster than her duration. One of the best, one of my first characters in the game, so I will be, of course, be biased. These next two characters I don't know too much about, so you might have to look them up a little bit. Nuvla is a charge attack DPS who relies on collecting little orbs that spawn up. I think his skill or his burst to dish out constant damage. His best support would be Farina. Risley is a cryo DPS who I think relies on his M1. I don't really know too much about him. I do not know much about Linny, so you will have to refer to other guides for him. Baiju's in that same case, but I believe he heals off a skill and he's just a flat out general base healer. Which is ironic because in the game, if you haven't met him, he's literally just a medic. He's a doctor. Alhaitham is a fast-paced Dendro DPS who uses skill to just constantly dish out damage with his M1. His burst isn't bad. If you're into his kind of body type, go ahead and pull him. No one will judge you for it. Not much to say else about him. I don't know too much else about him, but if you want to refer to others, you can. I will say this about Wander. I regret pulling for him, but I will say he relies on other elements and he gives great swole damage. Nahida, one of the best Dendro applicators in the game. Not much to say else. Her skill, the application, her burst. I don't understand her burst completely, but you can look it up. Also, if you go into the character archive, you can look at the details and all their kits and stuff. I'm not going to go in depth with all these characters because it would take way too long. Nilu, one of the very characters that are introduced for Hyper Bloom. Constant Hydra damage relies greatly on max HP. Really solid character overall, design wise and animations. If you like her, go ahead and pull for her. I would say make sure to have characters who can support her because her kit's a little hard to understand. But if you ever have questions about it, just leave a comment. I could probably get back to you on it. An Electro DPS who kind of relies similarly to Plunge. One of my personal favorite characters I want to get. Really cool. If you like the Egypt vibe, he's definitely your style. He's a fast-paced attacker too. Hydra Applicator who relies on an HP. Her burst is kind of like a gamble. Don't know too much about her, so you'd have to look her up. I'm gonna be completely honest, I do not understand a thing about Kamisato Ayaka or Kamisato Ayaka, so you will have to refer to others for their information. I apologize for that ahead of time. Yay Miko, all I can say is that she uses her skill which summon little foxes that can do electro damage by summoning, I think, lightning bolts on them, I think. Her burst is really cool, like really solid animations. I'd say she's a sub DPS. Support for Skirk, don't know too much about her. Think her skill does cryo application, same with her burst. This guy's absolutely silly. If you enjoyed Geo DPSs that are just silly, he's for you. Because his entire thing, his skill is just throwing that cow, who's called him. Forgot what his pet cow's name was, like Ushi or something like that. Let me look. Yeah, Ushi. Really silly and fun DPS if you want to play him. Not meta, but still a lot of fun to play with when you do a story quest. A standard healer, much like Farina, heals off her skill. She can walk on water only with her burst. A great electro battery, aka she can just get your character's burst up really quickly.
The
She's an
abyss
okay
is like the
DPS.
Earth's shadow. It's
If
always
you
there.
like,
It will
if you
never
want like
perish.
constant off-field electro, she is the best one for it. I don't know much about Yoimiya, so you'll have to refer otherwise. He is a swirl DP. He is a swirl support who shreds resistance off his skill and his burst. If you don't want Shalonen, you can use Kazuha. He is a great replace. He is a great other support. I don't know much about Eula, but I've heard that she's the best physical DPS in the game. How Hu Tao works, you do not want healers on her team with her, or unless after you use your burst. Because her skill drains her HP by half, which will buff her damage.
Toodaloo.
Her burst is really solid. She's one of the top 3 pyro DPSs. Would recommend, and she's very silly. Xiao, he's a plunge DPS, not much to say about him. His skills that can use a dash and his burst is how you do plunge DPSs. Ganyu, Ganyu is a bow user who's great for cryo application. Off her burst, her skill is also fairly good at it. Woodruck, solid character. Albedo, I don't know much about, so I'm gonna have to skip him. Zhongli, one of the best shielders in the game with off his skill. His burst is really solid too when it comes to crystallize. Keeps enemies in place more or less. Solid shielder if you need one. He has 2 attack forms, but Tartaglia, he has 2 attack forms, but they have a really long cooldown between each other. He has 2 separate burst animations, so if you really like his entire vibe, you can get him. I don't recommend him, but if you like his style, you can get him. Klee, she's very old school, but
So heavy.
her, Albedo, and Venti all get Hex and Circle buffs from earlier.
Totoko, where are you?
So essentially they get buffed a lot. Pretty sure she can be used as DPS. Don't know too much about her. Venti, he's a crowd control animo specialist, so if you have Electro, Hydro, or Pyro on the team that's off field and combines with it, he's great for just combining them and just causing
Where do
havoc.
we come from?
But
And where
that
are we
is all the
going?
5 stars on the roster. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I could probably answer them for you, but thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you around.